one more thing. And
Sorry, I forgot to turn the recording on. So
got it. Thank you. I would love it if you could share a copy with me. I can be critically constructive with myself. Thank you. When we take our kids from learned helplessness to empowered thinking, they're more confident, but we will have given them the tools and the steps to repeat the steps again and again so they can actually reach success. So, slide, please. The first truth I'm going to introduce tonight, the first truth is pleasing you. Believe it or not, your kids really do want to please you. I know it doesn't seem like that most days. I know you may not see it most days, but your kids really do want to please you. Next slide, please. The second truth is how we hear. If all of your kids listen and one does not, let's say it differently so they can hear what we want. Next slide. The third truth is we want to paint a picture for any behavior we want to see improve. Because I want to remind you of something. If your child has not been successful in the way you've been asking them up until now, perhaps we'll do it differently. So painting a picture really helps. And I'll get into why in a moment. Next slide, please. Because when we give your kids the steps to get there, they can reach the finish line and they can keep reaching the finish line, meeting your expectations. So next slide, please. The first step in changing behavior is to paint a picture of what we want to see. So I thought tonight what I would do is I would bring in something that happens in everyone's home. You say, let's go, and we think it's simple. We think it's let's go. We've got things to do, get in the car, let's go, right? But I want to ask you to consider that for your child, it's more steps than that. It is stop playing that game or turn off that TV. It is put some stuff away. It is hustle themselves to that door. It may be put on their shoes and get out the door. So you see, we're talking about a child who hasn't been following our directions. Perhaps they don't know the steps to get there. So if we can paint a picture, we can help them know what they need to do to get there. So the next slide, please. Let's say we're talking about getting out the door. This is what you can say when talking is easy. Usually I suggest to my clients at night when there's no expectations, maybe you're sitting in bed and you're talking, or if your child is older, just at some point where you're not parent pressuring your child. And what you can say is, tomorrow, when I say, let's go, I know tomorrow you're going to end up being so proud of yourself because I know you're going to end up shutting off that game and nobody thinks that's easy. Talk about it. We all know how hard that is. So say, I know it's not easy. It will be tough. I think the slide may be misnumbered, but when I see you put everything away and hustle yourself to the door, I will be so pleased. And then when I see you get yourself out the door, I think at this point, what it should be is you should pick the first song on the radio because you will have shut everything off, which is not easy. You will have put everything away. You will have hustled yourself to the door and you got right at it. I'm going to be pleased, but not surprised. It's great to see you doing a great job. So you see what we've done the night before is we've painted a picture what it looks like when they do get to that door because we've broken down the steps. Next slide, please. So what we want to do is we want to name what we see them doing. Not stop doing that, right? But let's replace it with what we want to see. So we want to say, wow, that was a great job. Great job turning off that game right away. You don't want to hover too much, and if it embarrasses them in front of the other kids, don't say it, get down, say it really quietly. That was a great job putting your stuff away. Well done, I see you hustling to that door. So you see what we're doing, we're naming for your child what we want to see from them to let's go, right? To let's go. Next slide, please. And this is, my assistant has put these out of order. She doesn't have ADHD. I can't really explain that. Okay. Anyway, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to continue saying this. So you're going to want to say it before bed, say it again before breakfast, say it, praise it, name it. Great job turning off that game. That's not easy for me, for anyone, or that TV. Great job putting everything away. Really nice hustling so quickly to the door. You're going to keep picking that first song because, kid, you are on it. You are on it. Now, this is something very simple, but you see what I'm saying, right? Because they weren't listening before. Now we've broken it down for them. And just like for us, let me take a sip of water, please. Just like for us, a new behavior, science has told us that a new behavior takes time to create an automatic situation, right? And so the big pull for you guys will just be to remember what the breakdown was, right? It was turn off the game or the TV, put everything away, hustle to the door, get those shoes on and get out. And if every so often you're getting in the car, hey, great job. I saw you turn everything off really quickly. Another day, maybe, great job. I saw you getting to the door faster than anyone else. Because if we keep naming the steps, your child will remember what it takes to please you. They will be pleasing you in mini versions, right? Because they will be getting praise from you with these steps. And so I'll ask you to please reinforce it for that win. Because you know what? When we can help your child feel better about themselves, they're going to feel like they're pleasing you. They're going to feel like you're not rolling your eyes. It wasn't them holding everything up. And when we can do that, when we can help your child feel successful, and we know many times that's challenging, right? We're going to reduce the acting out. We're going to reduce the anxiety, the talking back, the looking for negative reinforcements. We'll improve relationships a little bit because you'll be less frustrated. So that was a really quick run through because I know there are questions. But for me, the most important things to remind you are that we don't want to look for the mistakes. We want to look for where your child is being successful and name it. Name it. You will see more of it. They will look to please you more. The other insight to remind you is that if they're not listening, it wasn't working before. We've got to say it differently. And then the steps to follow, if you don't mind going back a few, the first step, and if not, it's okay, is right there. We want to paint a picture of what we want to see because let's go hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked. So paint a picture. Next slide, we're going to tell them what we want to see, right? We're going to say, tomorrow, when I say let's go, you're going to be so proud of yourself. So proud of yourself because you're going to put you're going to shut off that game. Nobody's easy in anybody's book. You're going to put everything away, hustle to the door, shoes on, out. And you can see that you can break anything down that you want in this same way, right? The key is that we've got to reinforce what we want to see. We've got to praise them when we see them doing what we want to see. Try to point out less of what they're not doing. Try to point out what they are doing. And I know many times when people call me at first, it's hard. I mean, great job not throwing anything at your brother at dinner. I mean, find little things if you can't find big things. I mean, great job smiling at me when I asked you a question. I mean, great job answering me the first time I asked you a question. Little things so you can help your child feel like they're winning more. So you can help them feel like they're succeeding more, because success is addictive. And failure is just this puddle you want to sit in and you want to stay in. So what I'd like to do before we move on is you're going to see another slide that's mostly blue. And my question is, I'd like to ask you all to pause for a moment and say to yourselves, what was the most useful for me in this I tried to be very quick in this part. What do you feel like you can use? Write down a note for yourself, write it in the chat box and screenshot it, because a little more, yep, right there. Because if I know as a learning specialist as well, if we can repeat what has stuck for us, what has mattered to us, we'll be able to take it forward. So before we move on to the questions, I want to quickly give you a way to reach out to me if you would like to. I think that's the next slide. Look at that. So what you can do, let me show you. What you can do is you can open up your phone's camera right now. Please take out your phone's camera if you would. And you point it on that, and then you're going to see, it'll show you my website. And then if you click on it, it will take you to my website. Because if you're doing it right now, you see, I see it. So I just did it. So that's what you'll do. Okay. So what we can do now is I really would like to say no question is too big or small. Nothing is silly. Eric can tell you that in other CHAD presentations, people will reach out to me after and say, thank you for the question and answer. I support ADHD adults, teens, and kids and parents every day of my life. Nothing is going to surprise me. Nothing will embarrass you. And you're among friends who struggle with the same situation. So let me have it. Hit it.
Should I stop sharing now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So there's a question in the chat. Allison, can you access the chat?
Can't really say if I can. Let's find out.
Here, you want me to read it for you?
I can. Here we go. It says, makes sense is rehearsal the night and the day before explaining steps. Is that what it was? Okay. Can you
Yes.
repeat that again, please?
What makes sense is rehearsal the night and day before explaining the sub steps.
Yes. So what I explain to my clients when we do a behavior plan, and I always say that I need 2 sessions, because everyone will always think about, oh, my child will say this. Oh, they'll say, I don't care. They'll say, it doesn't matter to me. And so we need to plan for everything, because you want to have all your ducks in a row so something sticks and your child can feel successful. So what I always say, I have one family who the mother takes the child out for ice cream. They're also in Bergen County. So she'll take the child, he's 5. She'll take him out to ice cream. And that really works for them. Mr. Little H boy walks back there. He's had some ice cream and he's ready for his behavior plan. With older, it doesn't matter, because I do this with teenagers, with college, with grad school. You want to remind someone the night before, positively, not not like that. This is an encouraging thing. This is, I believe in you. This is great. You're going to do great. Have a reward at the end. You can pick the first song in the car for your child. If it's something else, you can pick the front seat. You know, you can be the first one to pick the snack, whatever will be the for your child. I say, you know, pick the first song. And then what I always suggest is mention it at breakfast. I always suggest perhaps mention it when you're getting in the car for something else, you know, but lightly, because we don't want them to feel like we're hassling them. So I just can't wait to see you shut off the game that everyone finds impossible to do when they're trying to level up a level, right? I know, because when I'm on with teenagers, if they're on and playing a game, I'll be like, baby, you just level up and then, all right, let's go. Because I don't want them to feel like I'm not accepting every part of them, right? Okay, so, because they don't feel that way many times. Please share any other, would you like me to go into more detail about it? Because I think the key is really that you have to paint that picture. It can't be stop doing this. It can't be stop being the longest one to get to the door, right? You know, the latest one to get to the door. We have to replace it with something else. And that's why I say replace it with painting a picture. What does it look like to be successful? I can't wait to see you turn off that game. I can't wait to see you put the stuff away. Can't wait to see you be the first one to hustle to the door. Maybe your family will create a song about hustle to the door. You know, I just get very animated with that because it's like, that's good. They like that. So just, make it fun for your child. I don't care if they're a teenager. I don't care if they're 21 and you need them getting out the door. Praise them, but paint that picture. Don't pacify them, obviously. Also, I find that with teenagers, even really as low as 3rd grade or 4th grade or 5th grade, if we can involve them in making the plan, they have more teeth in the game, they have more involvement, more engagement, and you're more likely to be successful. So one of my suggestions would be, what are you gonna do when I say, let's go tomorrow? You did it the other day, what are you gonna do again? Because they're annoyed by hearing you tell them what to do all the time. So if we can pull it out for them, can I give you a quick?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to comment on something that you said, that the gamifying it, the making it fun, the turning it into a song, the laughing about it, the being goofy, seeing their parents be goofy is just funny, and it just changes the atmosphere of the whole thing. It feels good. I also wanted to say that Melissa wanted to say something. I saw Melissa's hand go up, so I want to make sure she had a chance to ask her question.
Please, Melissa.
I just have a quick question. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Own yourself, lady. Own it.
So what if you were saying like a reward? So what if the reward doesn't work after a while? Like,
Yeah. Okay. You don't want to give the reward too many times. You want it to be an intrinsic feeling fabulous about your son or daughter's self, but don't use my reward. You really want to think. A lot of times what I say to my clients is make a list of privileges.
Okay.
And then you can either give privileges as a reward or take away a privilege as a consequence rather than taking the phone, because I'm here to tell you it's going to create an avalanche of problems, y'all. You want to do it, but so you can limit the time, things like that. You can ask your child to participate. If you have a kiddo, honestly, like who tells you it doesn't matter, if they say all the time, do they say all the time? I don't care. I don't care. A lot of kids, I don't care, because it hurts to not be successful. It hurts to, you know what it is. So you end up not caring, because when you haven't been successful, you don't want to try something that hurts so badly, right? Make a list of what you think. How old is your kiddo?
He's 8 years old.
Okay, right. So would the song work?
I think so, yeah, because he relates a lot to music. So I think, yeah, the song definitely would work.
Yeah,
For
because
sure.
he may be an auditory learner. That may also tell you he's an auditory learner.
Mm-hmm.
And so it may help to have him talk things out about his understanding to solidify learning in the school year. So have him say it back to you, or have him record stuff and listen to it, because he processes it means from talking and listening. That's why Allison's such a big blah, 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 blah. I am too. So if the song doesn't work, think about something else and have it in your back pocket, because you kind of have to watch his face. Feel it out before you introduce this. We don't want to send you in not being successful. So, because we want him to be, it's a boy, we want him to be successful, right? So think about it before you introduce it. Like I throw in, you can pick the first song, and that may work for about 8 and younger. If there's a whole lot of competition, if it's an only child, it's not going to work. Is he an only child?
No, yeah, he has a sister who he's in constant competition with, who's younger.
How many years apart are they?
2.5.
That's why, because when they're 3.5, there's less competition. That's so hard. And he doesn't have ADHD. It's hard because he doesn't see her getting in as much trouble, and he sees her being successful. And so it's hard because then at home, he's also seeing it.
Exactly.
Just find ways to praise this Bubba. Like tell him he did a great job saying something nice to her. Like say, hey, nice job not pushing her out the door today. Like not tripping her today. Or being like, hey, nice job letting her sit down first. Well done. Or whisper to him, well done letting her come talk to me when she needed to. Like little stupid things that you can just tell him he's being a good big brother. I can change how kids feel about themselves just by praising things about something specific. So you could just start telling him he's a good big brother if you give him proof. Don't lie. And then he'll start to be like, you know, I'm a good big brother. Like, what should I do next? I know that sounds impossible, but I do it every day. I'm telling you, it works. You just have to give proof. And you're also harder to believe as the parent than I am. I know that because all of your kids think that you love them no matter what, that you will tell them they're beautiful and gorgeous and smart. So unless you give them proof, you have to give proof, because by this time he's already not been successful in school. And so he doesn't believe you. You think he's smart. He's like, you don't see in school what I see. And you know he's smart. You know, I know he's smart. We know he's smart. We know it says that the teacher may not be an auditory learner. The teacher may not be aware that there are 3 types of learning styles. And if they're not aware, they won't put colors on the board for some of your kids, talk it for some of your kids, and have some of your kids build it. So have him record to study and play it back to him. Have him recite things to memorize things. Have him say back to you what the steps are and be like, great job, buddy, great job. Just find a way to praise, because this kid thinks he stinks. I know this. I know. And I'm sure he's wonderful. I'm sure. Look at you. I'm sure he's wonderful.
Thank you.
What else have we got? What else? And I think you still have the floor if you have any other questions.
I think Eric has a question. Eric, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, Eric.
Well, Allison, so far so good. You know, I did give a little thought to this question, and I think it's a bridge to what you've already said, but it's another scenario going in a different direction. Just so everyone knows, I'm a retired special education teacher. A lot of times at the elementary school level, I would have kids coming to my session upset. Something happened to them, and I knew something was wrong. And I think my strength was getting to know them, having them confide in me, and having them use techniques and strategies over time that worked in any way. So a lot of times what would happen is they'd be picked on, they'd be called names like an idiot or an ignoramus or put down in some way or some fashion, and they'd become in mad and upset. So one thing I did was, I think Allison, this rehearsal thing, I tried to rehearse how to handle that situation in another way, instead of just taking it on the chin and bursting out and crying or doing stuff. I came up with a couple of things that worked sometimes. I used to tell them, I looked up a couple of things like, and these can be Googled and stuff. It's actually true that the first president of the United States was not George Washington. He was John Hanson, who was president of the Congress when the British surrendered 8 years sooner. So I would tell them, you know, when they get put down, say, if you're so smart, I bet you don't even know who the first president is. That's what we learned in special ed. Want to know who it is? John Hanson. So take that. Another one we did was we looked up Humpty Dumpty was not an egg. Humpty Dumpty was actually a cannon up on a hill on a Gloucester during the British Civil War. And they knocked down the cannon that was shaped like an egg off the thing. And the loyalists, you don't even know who Humpty Dumpty is. That's what we learned in special ed. You think you're so smart. So I don't know if that sort of rehearsal when like lose your temper scenario, what else could you do, Allison, when you're dealing with a child client that is being bombarded repeatedly? I don't know if you have other ways to go other than
I do. Yeah, I do, because I'm working with a child right now who he's very intelligent, but he's wound quite tight. And he'll get in trouble in school. He got kicked off his tennis team. He's getting kicked off of teams, and his anger has been getting the best of him. And this is why his parents came to me. And what I started doing with him is helping him understand that much of it was a learned behavior from the time he was very young, and that he probably didn't think it required that much reaction. And I would ask him, well, like on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this? Frustration, irritation, like what are you gonna call it? Like a 2 would be like a little annoyance. It has worked so well. The other thing is he lost his retainer while he was on a session with me, and he was like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, after we counted and we breathed, I said, well, let's start by saying every time we're going to panic, we're going to sit down and we're going to say, I'm okay, and it's going to be okay. We're going to take a few deep breaths, and then we're going to say, where else can I find a solution? And this kiddo, oh my gosh, in real time did it. And I was like, oh, thank you. And it has stuck with this child. So he's becoming less reactive, and his impulse to overreact is becoming less, because I gave him like a measuring stick to look at it. And we started putting different examples on that measuring stick. And he's become less explosive. We're about to reintroduce him to his very strict tennis teacher. First, we're going to start with an apology, an acknowledgement of what we understand our behavior caused. And then we're going to go in and we're going to give it a try again. Because I had to help him see that I don't think he was actually feeling that way at that moment. It was a learned behavior that had stuck with him from the time he was 3 or 4 years old. That, blah, 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 you know, just all of that. And he was becoming a bigger bodied person, and he was scaring adults. He said he could see it in their eyes. He's in 5th grade. He could see it in their eyes that he was beginning to scare them. So I needed to give him an awareness to take it back. But then when it happened in real time, it was the gift of gifts, because I had him sit down, I had him start breathing, I had him self-talking, and then I had him start strategizing instead of panicking. And it has helped. I think it depends. You need a very strong relationship with the kiddo, as you know. You know, my phone just switched to sleep. So I don't, can you all still hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. I usually go to bed now. So, but I'm wide awake. So please bring on the questions.
Allison, you know what I love? One of the things I love about that for that child is that he learns the lesson too, that he can make a mistake. We're all human. And then he can go back again and say, you know, like, this is what I wish I had done, or I apologize for that. I acknowledge it. We get second and third and fourth chances. Like, it's not the end of the world.
You know what you just reminded me of? That happened. So what happened is he missed our session. And I said to his parents, please, gosh, I know this child. Please have him call me, even though we missed our session. And I said, look, sweetheart, does everyone make mistakes? Do I seem mad at you? Do I seem mad at you, my darling? Do I seem it? No, because everyone makes mistakes. And then after I said to him, if I don't seem mad and you stay upset the rest of the day, because I know this child, I said, are you honoring that we just had this conversation and you understand that I'm not upset? Then what I had him do is I sort of did it as a learning opportunity to set calendar reminders in his phone, and then he was empowered. And then I asked him by the end of the phone call how he felt, and he was like, I'm okay again. I'm Milo again. I'm me again. I'm okay. Because I was dreading, he misses it with me and then he punishes his parents all day. Who needs that? So I needed to pull him back up. See, that stuff, I just keep telling him over and over again, everyone makes mistakes. I work with a law school kid, ADHD, and terrible self-esteem. And he went home last week and he made a mistake. And his mother, thank God, says to him, everyone makes mistakes. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. It doesn't mean you're not a wonderful person. Let's move on. And let me bring something in. ADHD, there's new research that says it's dysphoria. I just posted a video of it. I can't think of the name of it, but what it is people with ADHD, when they face criticism, it can tank them for a half hour a day, a week, or a lifetime. And conversely, praise can lift them up, lift us up. So it's very important to look for this sort of with a magnifying glass. If you have a child who's mopey-bopey and you don't understand what has just happened, it could very well be, just as Eric said, they were criticized and they can't let it go. They can't get it out of their head. When my ADHD, before it was under my control, my stepbrother once said something to me that I repeated in my head for years. It wasn't even true. And that's that dysphoria. Do you remember the name of it? It's
Rejection sensitive dysphoria.
yes. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, I've shared a video breaking it down a little more, but that is it. And so that's a recent finding for ADHD, and it's quite a light that it sheds on it, because if you have a kid who continues to think, thank you, that they can't let go of a criticism, that's why it's sticking in them. And we've got to talk it out with them. Look, a big thing I find really helps with all of my clients, doesn't matter what age, is breathing. And I'm going to start adding guided breathing on my website soon enough, because I can walk everyone through it, because it resets your parasympathetic nervous system. It helps you relax. And I've taught this to I don't like saying that. I've taught this to teens who have ADHD. One of these girls, she's in this private school in Manhattan, and she's sitting there, this all-girl obnoxious environment. And she's sitting there and no one else can see. And she's, and no one can see, but she is calming herself down. Another suggestion, and you'll let me know if you want to do the deep breathing. Another suggestion I give to my middle school and high school kids, even adults, don't talk yourself out of it. And what I mean is this: ADHD, a lot of us are marvelous at reading the room. Do you have ADHD? Any of you here? Think about it. Can't you just read the room? Can't you just read people's emotions? Yes, you can. Well, so can your kids. If they have ADHD, they can. Perhaps if they're anxious, it may be because they're very perceptive and they're just, and what will happen with our ADHD kids in school, they say something, they look around, and they talk themselves out of what they just raised their hand and said. They don't trust themselves. I'd like to get into something why that is, if I may. May I?
Sure.
Why they don't? I see this with ADHD adults. We don't trust ourselves because that's what learned helplessness is. What ended up happening when you were in kindergarten or first or second, or your child was, and they were distracted out the window by that bird or that little girl's bow or the teacher's whatever. Yeah. They start shutting down because they start looking around the room and they start saying, he can and I can't. She can and I can't. He can and I can't. They always know the answer and I don't. So you see, that's what's playing against you when you tell your children they're smart. What ends up happening is these kids who see everyone else participating. And it's not that they're not smart, it's that they looked away for a second and they missed what the teacher said. That's all it was. It could have been in math, it could have been in reading, it could have been in the directions for how to line up. But you see what ends up happening. It keeps getting reinforced for your kids. They don't have the answer. And reading or math or listening or school or friends become painful because anything that feels bad, nobody wants to keep doing what's painful. That's why your child says they hate reading. That's why your child says they hate school. I'm a reading and writing specialist too, and I will tell you, we just got to find out where the gaps are from kinder, first, and second, and fill those gaps. And then your child may be just fine. So what else have you got for me? Because now you understand you can jump into the school aspect, the home, the relationship, the parent, anything. I can give you some tricks if they're not listening. Who wants a little trick?
I would love
Sure.
for you to, I would love for you to do the breathing exercise with everyone.
All right, I'm going to do the breathing. Okay, everybody, please sit up if you can. Please put your shoulders back. And the way you're going to think about putting your shoulders back would be you're going to go them front, you're going to go them up, you're going to go them behind you and down. And that's kind of where they want to be. And what we want to do is we do not want to engage our mouth. We want to completely engage our nose, to engage this part of our central nervous system. And the key is when you breathe out, you want to hear this sound from your throat. If you need tips on how to teach a very young child how to do this, I'll send you a video. What you want to do, sit up, as I say, you're going to put those shoulders back, and I will count for you. We're going to be breathing in. I'm going to walk you through first. Don't do it. We're going to be breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4 through your nose. And then we're going to be breathing out through your nose. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to walk you through it 8 times. I'm going to ask you to consider that when I walk you through it, you will still have a lot on your mind. After, I can ask you all to do it yourselves, and you will see it clears your thinking because you are breathing and counting. So anxiety, adios. So here we go. You can close your eyes. I will not look at anyone because I feel everyone becomes self-conscious. So I'm going to turn. This is what I do with all my clients. Okay, and if you're watching me, you're going to end up seeing me do this and this because I do this a lot of times if people are looking at me at the same time. So now it's just a habit. Here we go. So sit up. And your shoulders are going to go forward and up and back and down. And you can put your hands on your ribs to see how this is going to work. And close your eyes. And now breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your ribs should be getting bigger. And breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes and check yourself. Yeah, if you're tired, you'll feel tired. So what you want to do is feel yourself right now because you're going to see it probably took you down a few steps. It really helps kids. If you're willing, I would love to have you do it now by yourselves. Try not to fall asleep. And the way I suggest counting, because you don't want to think about the number. What you want to do is I put out a finger every time I exhale. And we're going for 6 of them. So what I walked you through doing was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what we can all do now is we can do it together. Because I'm mic'd, you'll hear my exhaling. It'll sort of guide you. And we'll do it 6 times. And then we can all see, you'll see I'll be talking slower. My teams are always like, yo, yeah. Okay, so if you would like to, if anyone is with us, let's do it. Okay, so sit up and put those shoulders forward and up and back and down. And you can close your eyes. Remember, we're not going to use our mouth. You're not going to hear me because I'm going to be doing it with you too. And so when you get to 6, you can open your eyes. So if I can, okay. So what you'll see right now, what just happened, I'm so hot, I can't have a fan in this room. Long story. What you're gonna find is I talked you down a little, you talked you down. Because in having to count and breathe, there's no room for any other thinking. I kept trying to think how hot I was. And then as I breathed, it went away. There's an app that's free called Insight Timer. And if you've ever wondered if you can meditate, hello, ADHD family, yes, we can. I, with an adult friend of mine from high school, who I knew he had ADHD in high school. A lot of times you can't see it in girls. We will check each other and keep each other on track. We did 5 minutes of deep breathing. You will be amazed. Now, this breathing I just gave to you, it takes down your anxiety, your anger, your fear, your sadness. It sort of brings you back to baseline from wherever you were. There's one for sleeping, and you have to breathe out longer. The one I introduced to you was called water breathing, because you can drink water anytime. Whiskey breathing, you only want to do at night. So we all have trouble with ADHD sleeping, falling asleep or falling back to sleep, because the brain will constantly come back on. I do something that people think is crazy. If I don't fall right back to sleep, I know not to sit in bed. I get out of bed, I walk my dog, and I go back to sleep. I do it many nights. You need tricks, but one thing that works for me and all my clients is you breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Please don't do it if you're not in bed. College students pass out when their professors teach them this. You breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, and to sleep, you're going to breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've done this with, when I was a classroom teacher years ago, my whole middle school reported 3 times, you're out. The only time it doesn't put me back to sleep is if I seriously can't shut my brain down, and I do it again and it works. I recommend getting out of bed though. Don't watch TV, don't look at your phone, because those lights stimulate our brain. Right? So you don't want to look at a screen. That's why I walk outside like with my eye mask half on, and I'm out there walking very slow, and I just go back home and I go to sleep. Stand outside if you can for a few minutes, or stretch if you have a stretch routine. Or some people find it easy to fall asleep if they read, but I feel you're still filling your brain. I would more suggest try the breathing, whether it's the 4 in and 4 out, that works for sleep too, or it's the 4 in and 8 out.
But research has actually shown that by doubling the exhale from the inhale, it brings the body into a better sense of balance. The sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system balance out a little bit more. But
That's right, but if you ate, you'll pass out.
Dead. Can't sleep, get out of bed, meditate, come back, or do the deep breathing. Yeah.
Right, that's what I do. You can meditate. Sometimes I'll stretch. Sometimes I'll go out on my deck and just look at the moon or the stars and go back to bed, because we all know if you're laying in bed, you are then thinking of, your schedule and everything else, and your kids are too. So it's something I teach kids. The thing is this, you see I'm talking slower because I did it. You have to be really, really discerning about which child you teach this to, because some kids will do it anywhere and they're going to pass out. You need to know you have a child who will really only use it at night. And what I do is I let them know I'm conveying some really heavy information that I can't share with everybody else. You know, you can kind of play it like that. I can't share it with everyone else, but I know you'll be responsible. So here it is. That's what I do. We can't have them passing out. We just can't tell them. Like, what is the research show? Because what I read, right, was 4 in and 4 out. Some people will say hold it. I don't know you need to hold it. It has calmed my tush down many a times without holding it.
I happen to do the holding, and I teach people the 4-7-8 breath, which is 4 in, hold for 7, and then exhale through pursed lips for 8. But whatever works is really the right thing for each person.
No, this is better.
There are also apps for kids, for little kids, that have some breathing in them.
Let me show you really quickly how I teach kids to do it. It's really quick. Watch. So I'll say to the kids, see this piece of paper? I've done this for 3.5 years. Remotely, it works. Okay. See this piece of paper? Can you tell me if it moves when I blow it? With my mouth, did it move? Yeah, I did, huh? Yeah, okay. Now I'm gonna try and blow it with my nose. Did it move? Move, but like very little, right? Can you try that? Then I have them pick up a piece of paper, only go for the corner, because the rest of it's not gonna work. And have them try it. Try it with their mouth first, then try it with their nose. And then I'm like, hey. And I also make a big deal about your ribs. You should feel your ribs getting bigger. And I ask them how they feel after the 3rd one. You can point out to people that they can breathe deeper after the 3rd one. If you check yourselves, you'll see. It's like, yeah, if you're having trouble breathing and you do that, you'll breathe deeper. I used to be able to do it best when I walked. So when you walk, it's really easy to throw down those fingers. Also, I highly suggest walking for ADHD. I have a great suggestion. If you have younger kids who are fussy in school, either ride a bike alongside them on the way to school or have them run to school. I have a neighbor who the child's running because you'll tucker them out a little bit. They'll go a little more settled in.
It also releases chemicals in the brain.
That's right.
Being outside. I mean,
that's right.
It's good and it's good. What could be bad?
And they're breathing and they're seeing outside and it's waking them up. They're hearing birds chirping. And even if they're highly distractible, getting that body moving is really going to help them. I also say to people, like, be mindful of what activity you're having the child do, because some physical activities are going to hype them up and some will run them down, which is what we want. Running long distance is going to run them down. But like a relay race may make them a little crazy balls, yes? Because it's very frenetic. So think about that with your kids.
So Allison, we usually end at 9:15. And so if there's any other questions, I hope that people will jump in and ask Allison now. She's obviously very receptive.
And I'll share everything I can, yeah.
So does anyone?
Okay, so would you do me a favor?
Oh, wait, Eric is waving his pencil.
And at the same time, can you please put up that way to contact me? Because on my website, there are videos, there are articles, and it'll give you ideas for all kinds of things.
You want me to share that end of your slide again? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Well,
no, I don't mind at all. Let me go back to it.
Thank you so much, because that way it'll give people resources they can access. Oh, and I also suggest books. So the way to get this is you can either write down my website or you can point your camera at that. Eric, hit it.
So Ellen and
Joni,
great. Allison, I don't know, I don't mean to ask all these questions, but being as there's none from anybody else, it's kind of a classic ADHD question, my friend Allison. All right down the middle, fastball, right down the strike zone here. I think if you're designing a checklist or a schedule for your clients to follow, just talk about a little bit in a few minutes, if you can cut it shorter, it's late. What makes them effective and what makes them fail? What makes them successful when you've got to design the thing? I know you're going to say they've got to own it, they've got to do it.
But besides that, yeah.
But you know, in addition to that, that they got to be creative in the process. What makes a successful make a new checklist, do a new schedule?
Okay, what I tend to do, and I don't think enough people consider this, what I do is I build in downtime for the kids, and I build in social life for the kids, and I build in like overflow days. So a law school student who I mentioned earlier, I went through scheduling with him, and I looked at the schedule. And I said to him, look, Wednesdays are lighter. You only have one class. Fridays, you have none. I scheduled it so you would have no classes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So he'd have space for big projects. So he wouldn't feel overwhelmed. Did that on purpose. Then what I did is I said to him, what we're probably going to do is do the assignments for Monday, and like I said to him, we're going to do 2 assignments on these days, 2 on these. And I had him understand that we're going to create a system so that when teachers give an assignment that's due the next day, it will not hurt him in any way, because we've built in relaxing, friends, we've built in, you know, overflow days. And I also, and this helps a lot, I went over when the classes were, where they were located. If he knows where the buildings are, I had him go and look for his parking pass. And then I had him, after we hung up, tell me after we hung up, because I had another client, said, honey, do me a favor. I have him reading contract law every day because he was depressed and he had no structure. So I had to do something in his day. So I say to him, honey, do me a favor. Tell me what you read. Tell me when school starts and tell me what color parking pass you got. And by the time I get off with the other client, this kid, he had everything he needed. We've already broken down his anxiety. We've already broken down his resistance, because we registered for the class. We'll have the parking pass. We know exactly what buildings all of the classes are in. I've already told him that we're going to find him a place that he's comfortable to take that online class Tuesday and Thursday, because there's only 5 minutes after the last class, because I'm trying to pad his anxiety, right? I'm trying to account for everything. But I believe building in their social life and downtime is the key to their success. I did this with all my high school kids in COVID, and I did this with all my college kids in COVID. You've got to have them schedule for the downtime, for the gift they're giving themselves for focusing. Have that. Let me close really quickly with what I'll say is this. I want everyone to remember it will not always be like this, good or bad. I want to remind you to look for what's working, not for what's not working. It's really my motto in life. And I want to tell you, without even knowing you, I believe in you and I believe in your kids, because I come from a place of believing in everyone to start. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thank you so very much for coming and for sharing your wisdom. And the presentation really was very palatable. I don't know how else to say it. It wasn't, you know, we talked about it being clear for people so they could receive it. And I definitely think it was. So.
Oh, Thank you. Thank you. And we can share that slideshow with anyone
Yes,
if it'll
yes,
help them reinforce.
that would be great. If you could send me the slideshow. We have recorded this meeting and it will be posted on our website within, I don't know, maybe a week. And it's been delightful to have you with us.
Thank
so
you so much.
Right, and thank you to everyone else who was who came, who was here. All
They
right,
made time for their kids, and that's a big deal. And we don't have a lot of free time, and everyone did it. So pat yourselves on the back for taking this time for your kids. You know a lot more than you did, and I hope you feel empowered to try some things right away.
what a great note to end on. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Allison. That was great.
Thank you for everything you had.
Take care.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Hey,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming. Nice to see everyone, or for the people I could see. All right, Joni, I'm going to sign off.
Okay. Sounds great.
All
Great.
right.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.